let's talk about what desegregation actually means and what it means to have integration. When I talk to Black parents about desegregation, the first thing they say is, I don't want my kids to be bused. I want my kids to have a quality education where they live, right? So to me, the first place to start is dealing with equity in terms of how services are delivered, educational services are delivered to those communities. Segregation in the schools is largely a byproduct of having the most segregated city in the country, right? When you have these islands of people living, who don't have things like grocery stores in walking distance, or healthcare, or retail, or entertainment, or parks, then we're creating a situation which is not also amenable to education. So when we deal with education, we're putting all of the onus on the student without actually thinking about the family and the community. So when I talk about equity, when I talk about desegregation of schools, the first thing I'm talking about is delivering equity, starting at the community, to the family, and then to the students, so that they're in the best position to be able to succeed and receive the quality education that I know we can provide to them.
Right. So a follow-up. Many years people are talking about educational equity. We used to have community schools way back when, where parents were definitely more involved in the creation of schools to make them, with the idea of making them, fairer to everybody and more integrated. It seems like this is a real crisis, all right? And so we need to, one thing is to develop the communities that you described, and we know, by the way, that the Board of Regents really oversees what goes on in New York City Department of Education. But what would be an immediate step that you could take? Because this is getting really to a point where our students, there are really major, as you know, achievement gaps in the underserved schools.
Yes.
So what measure can you see taking that's realistic, that could create a path in the 4 years, if you were elected mayor, that could really unbuckle this problem?
There are a couple of things. So the first thing is part of my plan, and I won't talk long about this, but it is universal childcare. That if you are going to level the playing field, early childhood development, as you know, is like the best place to do that. In addition to dealing with the post-pandemic crisis of the loss of women from the workplace, as well as creating, thousands of new great jobs with benefits. But in the school system, one of the biggest problems is that every student is different, right? We know that. We know that 30% of students are pre-COVID had an IEP. That we also know that students, right, because of the pandemic, have been experiencing a loss and a delay. So we need to treat every student as if they're different and provide a personalized plan that disassociates their age with their grade.
Okay.
And we can do that on a course-by-course basis.